Press conference. We're scheduled to begin the press conference in approximately 5 minutes with UCLA. We'll have the student athletes and coach join us on the dais. Coach will make an opening statement, and then we'll field questions to the student athletes. I'll then dismiss the student athletes. Those student athletes will go over to the mix zone. At that same time that they go over to the mix zone, the locker rooms will open. And while the locker rooms and mix zone are going on, we'll field questions to coach in the room. And that'll be for all 4 press conferences this afternoon. As a friendly reminder, please silence your cell phones. This will be a hybrid press conference. I'll take questions from the media on site and then follow up via Zoom as time allows. I ask that you, for both in the room and via Zoom, raise your hand so that I can see you, and we will try to get to as many questions as we can. We have 2 mic holders in the room. Sydney's on that side, Michael's on this side, and I will direct traffic. So just, again, raise your hand high enough, and I will try to get to as many folks in the room as possible. Thanks again. One additional note that I neglected to mention, when you do receive the microphone, please state your name and affiliation. As we're scheduled to begin momentarily, for those just joining in the room, a few reminders. Please turn your turn your cell phones off. This will be a hybrid press conference with media on site and via Zoom. We'll take questions in the room and then via Zoom as time allows. I'm going to be directing traffic, so I ask that you do raise your hand high so that I can see you. I'll try to get to as many folks in the room as possible. We do have mic holders on each side. Please refrain from asking your question until the mic gets in your hand. And when you do ask your question, please state your name and affiliation. We will have Coach and the student athletes join us up on the dais. Coach will make an opening statement. We will then field questions from the student athletes. Once we dismiss the student athletes to the mix zone, the locker room will open, and then we'll take those questions from Coach from then. Y'all doing today? Hello there. Good morning and welcome to the NCAA Women's Final Four pre-championship press conference. Joining us on the stage are the UCLA Bruins. We'll hear an opening statement from Coach and follow up with questions for Lauren, Kiki, and Gabriella. This time, Coach, get you started.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here. You know, I think one of the coolest parts about being able to participate in this role is being able to see behind the scenes all that goes into creating an elite experience for these student athletes. And part of that is all of you in terms of telling their amazing stories, shining a light on their incredible journeys. And just want you to know it doesn't go unnoticed or unappreciated, and our game is not in the position it is without your contributions to that. You know, we are expectant. This is not a surprise for us to be here. We expected and believed that we would be in Tampa. And so, and that being said, we're really grateful, but we are ready to compete. And so we're excited about that opportunity. Obviously, incredible respect for the other 3 teams that are in this tournament and excited to match up against those.
Thank you, Coach. We'll open up with questions. We'll start right here to my left, our left, and then we'll come back over to our right.
Hi, Sabrina Merchant, The Athletic. I guess for Kiki or Gabriella, did either of you get a chance to watch the McDonald's All-American game this week? And for Lauren, what's it been like for your family to have all of this going on at once?
I did not watch. We were on the plane actually while the game was going on, but obviously saw a lot of the highlights on social media. I want to give a big shout out to Sienna for doing such a great job and winning MVP. But it's really cool to have her coming in, and we're very excited for her and Lauren and the entire Betts family.
Yeah, obviously we didn't get to watch, but when we landed, Avery was sitting in front of me. She's like, "Oh, Sienna won MVP," and I had no idea. So I'm just so happy for her. And the family group chat was texting all night, basically. So it's been a crazy couple of past days for my family, but yeah, just super proud of her always, and she's just so amazing. So yeah.
We're gonna go to our right, sir.
Hi, ladies. Kurt Sandval from ABC7 back home. If 2 of the 3 of you could answer at this point to get to here, you get a lot of congratulations, but also a lot of distractions between text and social media. What is the challenge of accepting that, but also eliminating the noise?
Yeah, I think that is a difficult part, and learning how to navigate that can be hard, but our coaches do a great job of giving us tools to handle these situations. And I think for me personally, after we won the Elite Eight game to come to the Final Four, I was really excited, and I was looking at all the stuff on social media, and I give myself, 2 days, and then after that, I think it's time to lock in for our next opponent. But yeah, just try not to give too much of your attention to that, because a lot of people are saying things, that can piss you off, you don't agree with, and they're not in our circle. And so understanding that they don't know what's going on behind the scenes in our locker room, and the people in our locker room are most important.
We're going to stay to our left. It's 3rd row, and then we're going to come up to the 2nd row.
Hi, Jalen Johnson. This is for Lauren. That you took off and I want to just say thank you for your honesty with that. But you've talked more than a basketball player, and I just wanted to give you the chance to say who Lauren Betts is aside from basketball.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you also. But yeah, no, I think that I always try to remind myself that I'm so much more than basketball. And I think I always talk about how I really value the relationships I have with the people around me in my close circle. So, I'm like a daughter, I'm a teammate, I'm a sister, I'm a friend. So just reminding myself that yes, like basketball is what I do, but it's not who I am at the end of the day. And all of this is amazing. But when I go back home to my teammates and my family, that's really what matters to me. So.
We can get the microphone over to the second row, please. I see both of you. We'll go second, back to the third, and then we'll come back up to the second row again. To you as well. Thank you.
Annie Costable, Front Office Sports. Corey, this question's for you. With the transfer portal being open, love the laugh. With the transfer portal being open while you guys are still playing, what challenges does that present, and how do you have to adjust your staff to accommodate that need?
Actually, if we could hold, we're doing coach questions for Coach Post. So we're going to continue to fill those questions to the student athlete. We'll come back to you, Annie. Promise. We can go third row. You can raise your hand higher. We'll get to you.
What's going on, y'all? Misha Jones, also with Rising Media Stars. I'm from the DMV, Kiki. So I wanted to ask you specifically, what is it about that area that you think molded you as a player? And are there some faves from that area that have played in this tournament and been stars that you kind of take inspiration from?
Yeah, I mean, growing up in DMV, I always say it's the best basketball area in the country. But I think just the level of competition through high school and AAU really prepared me for the next level. I mean, I grew up, going to the WCAC championship games and just seeing all the fantastic leagues there. And yeah, I mean, watched a lot of players at St. John's, DeMatha on the guys' side. And I just think that, seeing that really motivated me to just continue to get better. And yeah, so grateful to be from that area.
We're going to go to our right in this corner. We're going to come back over to the side. Please proceed.
Carl Adam at Hurst Media. Kiki, can you talk about the jump that Lauren has made this season from start to finish? And to follow Lauren, if you could talk about the same thing, the work you've done and the pressure you've dealt with to be an elite player.
Yeah, I mean, Lauren's obviously improved so much over these past few years. And I think for all of us, just being able to see that firsthand every day in practice. And, she worked so hard. She put in so much work in the spring and the off season, the summer. And I think that's where her game just really, really improved so much. And I think like from the first day in some workouts and in preseason, I could just tell what a different player she was and kind of a different confidence that she had about her. Because we all knew the entire time the incredible player that she was, but I think a lot of it was about her realizing that and just being able to kind of play with her, help her alongside in that journey has been an incredible honor. And I mean, she's obviously unstoppable out there on the court and just very grateful to play with her.
It's key.
We're going to stay on our right.
Yeah.
You can raise your, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Please proceed. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
no, it's okay. Thanks, Key. To add to that, I would say, I mean, kind of like what Kiki said, I think it's just me finally realizing the player that I am. And I think that a lot of it has to do with not just the basketball side, but like the mental work that I've done this past season. I think that, just talking to Coach Shannon, having those conversations about like, taking away all the pressure of when I'm on the floor and just playing for my teammates and understanding like the moment and what I have to do. I think that's just made me the player that I am. I mean, I think also I have to give a lot of credit to this program and like the amount of confidence that they've given me and like all the love that they've showed me these past couple of years. I mean, I'm just super grateful to be at UCLA. So thank you.
All right, we're going to go to our second row. We'll go to the back and then we'll come back over. I see you. Yes, please.
Okay.
No, right next to you. Thank you. Please proceed.
Tiffany Nguyen with the LA Times for Kiki. I know you talked earlier this year about your relationship with Jordan Canada. What has that been like for you as you've gone through this from freshman now to junior year? She was in a similar situation, a point guard for the #1 recruiting class. And like, how is just she and maybe some of the other alumni helped you kind of grow throughout this process now to the Final Four?
Yeah, I think we would, all of us sitting up here would say how impactful all of the UCLA alumni have been on our journey. I mean, they've just been so supportive throughout this entire year. And since we've gotten here, JC was someone I watched before I came to UCLA. And, I really, really have always admired her. And just, over these past few years, she's been at practices. She's helped us get better, helped us prepare for games. And now to see her like watching from afar and just kind of she'll send me congratulatory texts after games and just, certain things. And I think having their support really means a lot because, part of the reason why we're in this position is because of the work that they did to build this program, and we're continuing to carry that on.
You can raise your hand in the back. He'll get to you. We'll come back up to the front. I see you as well. I still saw you in the front row as well. Please proceed.
Hi, Bella Munson with the Next. Lauren, I also wanted to ask you about the ESPN story about your mental health. I was wondering if there was any particular reason you decided to do that story recently. It was published, I think, 2 weeks ago, and how you feel since sharing it. And Kiki and Gabriella, if you could talk about what, if any, changes you've seen in Lauren since she's been more open about her mental health struggles, that would be really appreciated.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why I wanted to come out with a story is because I felt like I was finally in the right place to do so. I think that I just done a lot of healing since then, and I was like, you know what? I just don't feel like I have to really hide this anymore. And I think the responses that I've had since then, have truly just like validated, what I did and what I put out. And I think that, the amount of love and support that I've gotten is just means a lot to me. And, to help young girls who I guess didn't really have anyone to look up to. Like I personally, I had mentors and I'm really thankful, but I know there's a lot of young girls who don't. And so I think just for me to be an outlet and to kind of validate their feelings and to know that there's someone out there who's dealing with the same thing that I am, I think is just really important. But yeah, I'm just really grateful for all the love and support that I've been receiving since that article. It means a lot to me. So.
And for follow-up questions, can we start with Kiki and then go to Gabriella?
Yeah, I just think Lauren's willingness to be open about a topic that's not easy is inspiring to all of us. And I think, we've all seen her grow in her confidence over these, over these past few months. And I think I've even seen another step in that over these past few weeks towards the end of the season. And yeah, just really proud of her for that.
Sorry. I'm just super proud of Lauren and, the way she emphasizes mental health and is an advocate for it, especially with student athletes, because it is something super important. And being a student athlete is, very hard at times. It's super fun. I'm super thankful. But to see Lauren just advocate for not only herself, but for so many others is really inspiring. And I'm just super proud of her and the way she has grown throughout her college experience and college career.
Want to shift to our right?
Hi, I'm Gigi with Overtime. And Lauren, what is something Sienna is better at than you?
Darn. Oh my gosh. Oh, okay, like in basketball or just like in life in general? Like
Basketball.
basketball? Ooh, okay, I will say she's a way better shooter than I am. And to be honest, like I feel like for her being younger, I think she like is a little bit smarter than I am too. Like she's genuinely one of like the smartest basketball players I've ever been around. So yeah, credit to her. I don't know where she got it from, but yeah. Yeah.
Want to shift to our left? If you could raise your hand in the black front row. Thank you.
Yeah, Mitch North of SB Nation. Kiki, I know you played against AZ in high school. Just what kind of, from your perspective, makes her a great player, and are you looking forward to kind of matching up with her again on such a big stage? And what are you looking forward to about that matchup?
Yeah, she's a great player. We played against each other a lot throughout high school. Our high schools were like 15 minutes away from each other. And I think she's always been a fantastic shooter, one of the best shooters that I've been able to see and stuff. And I think just grateful to have another opportunity to play against her and the UConn team. But yeah, it's really cool that both of us are from the DMV.
Well, stay on our left-hand side if you could raise your hand with the blue jacket so we can get that microphone to you.
Shane Patagna with the Tampa Bay Times. I had a question for Gabriella. So knowing that your brother Jaime made his own run with UCLA to the Final Four in 2021, has he given you any advice on how to handle this new and big stage of the Final Four?
Yeah, I was very thankful that I got to, watch my brother's 2 games in Indiana on his team's run. But he's been super busy with his own basketball games and things like that. But he's always supporting, and I just really appreciate his support.
We'll go to our right-hand side. Joey, if you could raise your hand, they can get to you.
Joey Johnston with the Tampa Bay Sports Commission. Lauren, I wanted to ask you, there's players and other programs that have been to this event. This is the first time around for UCLA. You guys have been here for a few days. How do you mix business with pleasure? You know, do you get some time to enjoy the community? And what do you think so far of what it's been like here?
No, it's unbelievable. We kind of talked about it in film, just Coach Shannon brought it up, just enjoying the moment. Obviously, we talked a lot about, media and how there's going to be a lot of things going on and it'll be a little hectic, but like just acknowledging that like we're here at the Final Four and this is a huge deal and it's a huge accomplishment for this program and just having fun. I mean, like we're all here together. We all love each other so much and just to experience this together I think is amazing. But yeah, we've had a lot of fun and obviously we're also reminding ourselves at the end of the day, like we're here to win as well, and it's a business trip. And at the end of the day, like we're here to play in the Final Four as well, but we can also just have fun and enjoy each other's company. So
take our final question for student athletes. If you could raise your hand on the right-hand side so we can get to you. Right. You had your hand raised previously. Am I? Yep. No longer? Okay. We'll hit this last question on our left-hand side. If you could raise your hand. Thank you.
Hi, Jennifer Porty from Let's Talk Women in Basketball. What have you guys learned about yourself throughout this tournament?
I can take that one first. Yeah, I mean, I think our toughness and our resilience has been something that we've really worked on and that it's been on display throughout this tournament. I think especially in our LSU game, our ability for so many people different to step up and hit big shots and make big plays, and just our ability to play in those close games and find a way to pull them out.
I would say the same thing. I think our toughness and I think our composure as well. Obviously, like it's a game of runs, things are gonna go wrong. People are gonna have fouls or be in foul trouble. But I think just making sure that, it's next man up. And I think that just talks about like the depth of our team. I mean, everyone's just ready and you have such a talented roster that when things go wrong, like we know at the end of the day, we're gonna be okay.
Yeah, I would just add exactly what they said, but our togetherness, how powerful we are when we stay together throughout the whole game, and we play for each other. So I've had so much fun so far, and I can't wait for more.
Thank you, Lauren, Kiki, and Gabriella. At this time, the locker room is now open and the three student athletes will move to the mix zone. We'll now open up for questions for Coach. Annie, we will start with you. We'll get the microphone to you. Give me 1 second. Please proceed.
Okay. Corey, sorry about that.
Yeah,
Basketball Front Office Sports. Yeah, I'm curious with the transfer portal being open while you guys are still playing, what's the challenges that are presented and how do you shift your staff to accommodate?
Yeah, we thankfully have more coaches now, and that makes a big difference so that we can divide and conquer a little bit more. But I think there's two sides of this, and I saw an interview with Bruce Pearl recently and talking about how yes, it's very inconvenient, it's very difficult, but also that having the kids be able to pursue what their next steps are is important. And I really did pause when he said that and think about the majority of the numbers, right? We are very fortunate this year. We don't have a lot of space, so it actually has not been very difficult for us at all. Because we have the potentially to have almost our whole roster return. But from a global perspective, I think there's two challenges. One is what is best for the student athletes and what is best for our game. And the part that concerned me a little bit about the game part is how quickly coaches were trying to, or athletic departments were trying to fill coaching positions so that they had people in place during for the transfer portal opening. And I think that has been an unintended consequence of the date, which is really difficult. So now you have assistant coaches leaving in the middle of the tournament. You've got, on top of everything else we're doing, I have people calling about, your coaches and are they interested in jobs and things like that. So somehow to find a marriage of like, okay, what is best for the student athletes? I think the bottom line is if you're in the Sweet 16 or beyond and you need a transfer situation, there's enough people that you can accommodate. Is it convenient? No. Is it hard? Yes. But you can do it. And especially since we're in the minority, there's only 16 teams left that are affected in that way. But I do think the whole thing about how it affected the coaching carousel, I think that's worth a second look because that has been a major distraction. And when that's a distraction, it affects the student athlete experience. And so I think that's something we got to look at.
Take our next question up in the front. Cassandra, can you raise your hand so I can get it to you?
Cassandra Negley, Yahoo Sports. You've often talked about being an uncommon coach, and you mentioned it yesterday at the Naismith ceremony, having uncommon players. I know there's the uncommonness of UCLA being in its first NCAA Final Four, but I'm just curious, what is uncommon about this team that got you here?
I think it's the hardest working team that I've ever been a part of, top to bottom. I have to kick them out all the time of the gym. They want more. They're incredibly hardworking, and I have to give that credit to Kiki Rice. She has set a cultural standard of work that is contagious and pervasive. And just she deserves so much credit in that. I think what else is uncommon of this group is so many players. I have never had a roster this star-studded, and it's uncommon to have this many stars be willing to give up individual things for a more powerful collective thing. And those would be probably the two most uncommon things about this particular team.
I'm going to move to our right, Doug, and then we'll come back over. I have a list going.
Yeah. You're good.
Hey,
Mm-hmm.
hey,
Hi.
Corey,
Hi,
Doug
Doug.
Feinberg, the AP. I was hoping you could walk us through a little bit your relationship with Gino, because I remember you went to watch practices
Mhm.
probably close to a decade ago now, I think.
13 years ago. Mhm.
Just how that all happened, and now that you're playing them on
Yeah.
the game's biggest stage, how great it was to be able to learn from the
Yeah.
best.
Not only was it so when I my first year at UCLA, we weren't in the NCAA tournament. And so I had a little more time on my hands after the season was over, and I'm like, what a unique opportunity. I wonder if people would let me watch them practice. And so I called Muffet McGraw, and I called Coach Oriema and asked if I could come and watch. And so I spent I think the first and second rounds, I spent watching Notre Dame, their prep, and then I went to Connecticut and spent 4 days there and watched them practice and prepare. And, it was just tremendous. And then the next year in October, I brought my entire staff out to watch him practice. And, he's a master teacher. He's really, really, he's done it in a style of play that I really enjoy, just personally, especially on the offensive end. And trying to think about, as a young first year at that point head coach, what was that going to look like for me? And so to have that time where, and it wasn't just Coach Oriema, CD and their assistant coaches. I mean, their whole program, just letting someone in the middle of the NCAA tournament and learn, I think it's a huge credit to them. And so there used to be a joke that whether I was at UC Santa Barbara or at Florida State or then at UCLA, every year we ended up in their bracket. So that got a little old because they were really good. But at the same time, I just think when people who have set the standard of the game are willing to reach back and teach somebody else, it goes a long way.
We'll stay on our right-hand side. If you can come up one more in the brown.
Hi, great. Emily Adams, Hartford Current. You worked with both Paige and AZ at the USA basketball level. Just curious what you remember about them, working with them at that age, and how you've seen them develop now as you're scouting them for a Final Four.
Yeah. It's funny. When we were in Thailand for the U19 World Cup with Paige, she happened to be my next door neighbor the entire time for 3 weeks in Thailand. And so her and Celeste Taylor, I remember it. And it would always be, we joke about what the pregame playlist was going to be. And thankfully, we both really like gospel music. So that was usually the choice. And Paige has just got an incredible charisma. She, made the pass. I mean, I think to me, she's an incredibly most efficient scorer of all those things, but her elite skill in my mind that I love the most is watching her vision and her passing. It's just amazing. And we were in a position in the gold medal game that she needed to make the pass for us to have a chance to send it to overtime. And she made the pass and made the play and sent us on. And she's an incredible player. She's an even better teammate. And just was great to have that experience with her. Lots of respect and admiration. AZ, it's interesting that I had this experience with Lauren too, and those are probably the two that they carried me a little bit. So when I coached them, my dad died when I was on the trip with USA Basketball, and Those two kids, I remember the circle. I remember sitting there and telling them, like, this is going on. I'm okay, but this is happening. And their response to me was just tremendous. And I had recruited them both. They both turned me down. But AZ, she just has this, she has incredible work ethic. She's an elite player. She has a very tender heart. And I was the beneficiary of that on that trip. And I will be forever grateful.
We're going to move to our left in the plaid, and then we'll go to the back. So the black, I know I have the blue. Again, we're moving through.
Hey,
When
Coach.
we're moving.
Misha Jones here with Rising Media Stars once again. So I want to take us back in time. You've been at UCLA since 2011. You were under 500 that first season, but if you had to go back knowing how everything has unfolded since then, what is the advice you give that version of Corey Close, and what do you tell coaches who want to make that first gig stick?
Good question. I think that don't try to be all things to all people. Know what your lane is and how you operate best, and be authentic to that. That's where the whole uncommon thing came from, is that I knew I didn't want to do it like everybody else. But it was hard. I was insecure at times. Can I really get this done? Could this really work? And so, but I think anything other than that would have been inauthentic, and it would have been, I wouldn't have had the joy or the meaning that, or honestly, to be able to sustain, because I really wouldn't have believed in it at the deepest levels, right? The thing that I would say, the biggest thing is who you surround yourself. Show me the 5 closest people to a new head coach in the program, and I will show you what their level of success will be. And I got a lot of things wrong, but the one thing I got right is the people I surrounded myself with. Loyalty, character, trust. I had so many people, well, you need this. You've been gone from California this long. You need this person. You need this. Telling me what I needed. But I knew I needed trustworthy people of integrity, high character, hardworking. I knew that I needed someone, all of them. I wanted them to be able to develop talent. I wanted them to build authentic relationships, and I wanted them to be able to recruit. And everything else, I figured if those things were in place and they were high character people, we'd be okay.
Kareem, please proceed.
Hey, Corey. Kareem Copeland from Washington Post. Just quickie, couple things that you have to take care of tomorrow to be successful and to advance.
A couple things? Yeah. I think that one of the reasons I chose to learn from Coach Auriemma is that he doesn't teach just a bunch of plays. He teaches and equips his players to make plays and to read defenses. So when you're scouting them, the amount of, there's not a lot of predictability because they're really good at read and react. And it's a very high basketball IQ team. And so I think the challenges is all the different ways they create open threes and the efficiency in which to do it. So the number one thing is that we've got to do defensively is to limit their three-point attempt rate. And it's very clear in the analytics when their three-point attempt rate is up, they win. And when they defensive rebound, they win. Those are the two biggest win-loss statistics that determine their success from an analytics perspective. And so our challenge is going to be to try to limit that attempt rate and at least quality ones. And then the other thing that they do is they use players as you try to extend to do that, to cut behind you. And so to be able to defend back cuts is really important because that's the counter when you take away threes. So those on the defensive end. And then we have to figure out how we can play through the paint, and not just with Lauren Betts, but to do that because that's how we're built, and shoot our threes after paint touches and not fall in love with them too early. But the more stops we get, the more we're able to do that in transition. So that'll be a huge key for us playing through the paint on the offensive end. Ball movement and paint touches are the two biggest indicators for us being successful versus them on the offensive end.
Coach, we're going to move to our right. If you could raise your hand in the green.
Cora Hall with USA Today. You're going up against a UConn program that's making their 24th appearance. It's your program's first. A lot of people might think that's an advantage for UConn and being here before, but do you feel like there's an advantage on your side of your team, doing something this program's never done before and that kind of different pressure? Just kind of what's that like from your perspective?
I think it's just, not only is every team different in terms of their talent base and strengths and weaknesses, but their makeup internally is different. And I can't speak to theirs. Obviously their record here speaks for itself. But the one of the coolest parts about coaching this team for UCLA is that they haven't been surprised. They really have prepared to win step by step, starting way back when we played South Carolina at home, and we started out just not a very confident team and just earned it little by little. And so I just think this is that next hurdle, right? So we're not preparing to be here, we're preparing to win. And we're trying to prepare in such a way that we have the confidence to do so. Is it an advantage of being here multiple times? I would say, yeah, it is probably, but there's different kinds of advantages on all parts of this. So our job, I can't control that. So my job is to not give my energy to that at all.
Take our final question in the back in the blue shirt, if you can raise your hand.
Andrea Adelson with ESPN.com. Corey, as a follow-up to that, you're the #1 overall seed, yet everyone's talking about UConn.
Doesn't seem that way, does it?
That's my question. Does it feel like you guys are a little bit of an underdog heading into this game, even though you are the #1 overall seed?
Yes, it does. But honestly, it has sort of all year. And I think we've benefited from that, honestly, that we spent more time as #1 in the country all year long. And we were the most non-talked about #1 team in history. But I can't complain about that because I think it allowed our team to stay focused on the right things. And so, I do think that's sort of been the case, but I do know that the #1 overall seed stays in the nicest hotel, and that is true. So that is really beneficial right across the street. But I think that the reality is that, I love the coverage of our sport. So if you want to talk about whoever you want, go ahead. It's going to all shake out there about who shows up to perform, who plays their best when their best is needed. And we both have two really, really good teams. Also a credit to them. I think they have been playing their best basketball in the last, 6 weeks of the season. And I saw a real turn in them during that time. So they've earned some of that and obviously their history. But this is this year's UConn team, not the last 10 years plus or 20 years of UConn teams. And this is our UCLA team. And I have a lot of confidence both mentally and physically and tactically in this UCLA team. And I think it's going to be a great battle.
Coach, I want to thank you for your time today. Best of luck tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here.
Just a reminder for those that are in the room, the locker room and mix zone will be open until 12:20 p.m. Next up, we have South Carolina. They are scheduled to join us on the dais at 12:45 p.m. So you can let Chase know that. Mhm. Pardon me? No, you're not. Not a problem. I mean, I won't, but they got folks. Good afternoon, everyone. As we are about 5 minutes from our next press conference, just want to run through the housekeeping rules again for those in the room and those via Zoom. Student athletes and coach will join us on the dais. Coach will do an opening statement. After coach's opening statement, we'll field questions to the student athletes. We'll then dismiss the student athletes so that they can go to the mix zone. If you want to depart at that time, you can head to the mix zone and they'll field questions. At the same time that we dismiss the student athletes for the mix zone, the locker rooms will open as well. And we will also then field questions to coach. So if you could hold your questions for coach until after we field those for the student athletes, that would be greatly appreciated. Just want to remind everyone in the room to please silence your cell phones. And then for those in the room and via Zoom, we will take questions in the room and then via Zoom as time permits. When the microphone gets to you, we have 2 microphone holders on each side. We just ask that you bear patience as I direct them to you. Please raise your hands so they can get the microphone to you, and then state your name and affiliation. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. That's my favorite cities. I lived there for a while. I lived in Tucker/Lilburn, and then my sister lives in Gwinnett, so I'm there often. While we also still have some time, just a reminder that the AP Coach and Player of the Year press conference will take place in this room this afternoon at 4:45 p.m. and the WBCA Coach There's some volunteers.
How are you? I'm doing well.
Good afternoon and welcome back to the NCAA Women's Final Four pre-championship press conference. Joining us on stage are the South Carolina Gamecocks. We will hear an opening statement from Coach Staley and then follow up with questions from Raven Johnson and Tahina Powpow. Coach, if we could start with your opening statement.
Just congratulations to the other three teams that are here in the Final Four. We are super excited to be here. We are representing the SEC, us in Texas, and proud that we could represent our league in such a fashion because we certainly competed all year long, and the reason why we're here is because of the competitiveness of our conference.
Okay, we'll start with questions for student athletes. We'll go to the back, right next to you. Yep.
Thank you. Hi, ladies. Judy Gadsden from WIS in Columbia. Raven and Tahina, I know that a lot of the former Gamecocks are still very critical to this program. People like Markeisha Grant have been working with you all on building resiliency. Can you all talk a little bit about the value of those relationships and how it has helped you to bounce back through difficult moments throughout the season?
We'll start with Tahina and then we'll go to Raven.
I mean, relationships are important no matter where you go in life. And to be able to, talk to alumni and former Gamecocks, it helps our program a lot because they've been through it. They've been through the early years when Coach Staley was coaching them. And, they speak life into us. And she's helped us during the season with team bonding and just bringing us closer together and just having that, that bond with everyone else on the team. And it's helped us greatly and we learn from it. And we've continued to use those team bonding moments to help us in the long run and experience like this.
Yeah, what she said, even Khadijah's section, she tells us a lot of that she's been here before and that she was telling us about her experience and stuff like that. And like she said, alumni, they come back and they just don't come back. They also like practice against us. So just to go against them, it means a lot, honestly, and get a lot of knowledge from them.
We're going to stay to our left. Ben, if you could raise your hand, they can get the microphone to you.
Ben Pickman with The Athletic back here. For Tahina, just, the coaches talk a lot about habits, involve, team habits with you guys. I guess, what would you say are the habits of this team and how closely do you feel like you guys are sticking to them and or swaying from them?
That's a good question. I think we've done a really good job with recovering. Our habits have been way better for that because we, play a tight schedule and we've been playing games and we do cryo now with some of the girls do cryo, they do Normatec, they get their body worked on. I think we've done a really good job with that and just being able to get our bodies ready for a 40-minute battle and shout out to the program and to everyone else who's been involved to help us with that and just being able to know that recovery and rest is a big part of March and that we've done a really good job with that in that aspect.
Yep, a lot of us hate cryo and ice baths, especially me. But now it helps. Like it helps our body a lot. So
we can come to the front, Jalen. If you could raise your hand higher so they can get the microphone to you.
Hi, Jalen Johnson, Rising Media Stars. You guys have been affectionately known as Dawn's Daycare for a couple of years now, the program. But what is it about the way that Coach Staley coaches you guys and the rest of your coaches that allows you to be 100% yourself, even if it does mean it's a little childish?
Coach tells us when we get a little too loose, like before the SEC championship, she told us we were a little too loose and that we need to tighten up. So she knows when we're loose and she knows when we're right. So I think, it's a balance, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, she's done a really great job this year. I think a little last year she was, learning about it. She knows that our attention spans are very short and that she got to get it on when everyone's paying attention. And that she tells the coaches that hey, they're gonna go wild in a minute or so. So get through your point. And she's just done a really good job balancing it and helping us out. And she's joined us, part of our childish moments as well. Sometimes she starts it as well. But it's just a really good balance. I mean, that's what the type of coach you want to play for, and she does a really good job locking us in. And then she, tells us, the seniors and the leaders, like, hey, get your team to tighten up. They're a little too loose. And we, relay that message to the team. And we've done a better job, but I know that we can do a little better. But we're just going to be who we are. And she accepts us for who we are as well.
We'll shift to our right.
Kirk Bowles from the Houston Chronicle. To both young ladies, I don't know if you guys can be too familiar with each other, having played 3 times already. Is this going to come down to who's got the best defense, and are these the 2 best defenses in women's college basketball?
It's going to come down to heart, effort, and controlling the things that we can control, which is attitude and effort. Obviously, we can't control how the officials, do the game. We can't control everything that's outside of that, but we can control our effort and attitude. And, whoever's going to win tomorrow is going to determine who wants it more and who just wants to, pay attention to the details and be there for your team, and who's going to compete and, just compete for a 40-minute battle.
Going to shift to our left. If you could raise your hand in the green so that we can get the microphone to you.
Eden Lassie, Hoops HQ. This is for both of you guys. On the flip side of that, like when, coach needs to tell you guys to kind of tighten up because you're being a little too goofy, like how does the sort of goofy silliness like help you guys keep things from getting too heavy, especially in a program that has such high expectations?
We can start with Raven.
I think it helps us, honestly, because we, like Plies said that, we need to get off TikTok or whatever. I think some of us, we need TikTok, but if you eat, sleep, breathe basketball, you're honestly going to be depressed. You're going to be distressed about it, honestly. So I think it helps us, give us a little laughter, makes us enjoy things other than just basketball. So, I mean, we make each other laugh. Like, a lot of us are funny. Like, oh my gosh, she's funny, honestly. So, so we just make each other laugh, and, you enjoy moments like that. I mean, we're sisters, and it's more than just basketball, honestly.
Yeah, I thought that was really well put. It's more than basketball. It's a family thing, relationship thing. And, when basketball is done, what you're going to have, and you're going to have relationships. You're going to have people in your corner who you can talk to and connect with. And you're going to, have a really good bond for life. And it's just something that, relieves pressure off us as well. It's something to take your mind off of basketball and knowing that we're all experiencing the same thing. Why not just share it together? And so I'm definitely going to, cherish all the relationships I've created from this program and the girls. And we're just enjoying the moment, staying in the moment, and just being present with each other.
Going to move to our right. Rob, if you could raise your hand.
Rob Knox from the Next. Raven, this is specifically for you. Throughout your career, what do you most, what have you been most proud of your growth off the basketball court during your career at South Carolina?
Honestly, I think overcoming adversity. And honestly, I used to be like a person that like listened to naysayers and stuff like that of how to critique me and stuff like that. So I'm learning how not to care, and learning that, I'm a winner, like Coach said, and I do whatever it takes to win. So overcoming adversity and just know who I am and not put myself in a box.
Going to stay to our right. You can raise your hand, then we'll come over to our left.
Coach Trey from SB Nation. This is for you, Miss Pawpaw. You picked it up against Duke in the second half. How important is leadership, and how would that transition now in the Final Four?
It's super important. I mean, when your teammates are telling you to shoot the ball, you got to shoot the ball. And I felt like I didn't shoot the ball as much as I needed to before then. And they just needed me to step up and be there for them. And that's what I had to do, especially wanting to win. And so you got to do whatever it takes to win. And they told me to shoot the ball. So I went out there and shoot the ball.
Go to our left. If you could raise your hand, he's standing right next to you.
Beth Wool from Fox Carolina in Greenville. The ESPN crew told us this morning that Dawn has been trying to point you guys in the direction of harnessing that underdog mentality coming into this weekend. What does that mean to you? And what does that look like this year when so many people think, well, South Carolina, the dynasty and defending champs, how do you become an underdog? How do you guys harness that mentality?
Raven Johnson.
Honestly, I think I don't look at ourselves as underdogs. We're South Carolina. I feel like it's not a lot of, it kind of put a little pressure off of us a little bit. I think we're just going to come and bring our A game. I mean, all of us wants to win. Everybody here wants to win. We know, they're going to come and bring whatever they have against us. So I think, we just need to listen to our coaches, because their game plan and execute what they have for us.
Let's move to our right.
I'm Gigi with overtime. And if you could pick this for both of y'all, and if y'all could pick one fit from Coach Staley's closet, what would y'all pick?
We're gonna start with Raven.
One fit you could choose.
I wear
He wears
too
too
much-
many.
Too
I
much
don't-
clothes for probably
yeah.
these two.
They don't have an
Nah,
appreciation-
facts, nah,
they don't have an
facts. She
appreciation for
got me.
fully
She got
clothed.
me. Yeah.
They don't have these two.
Nah. Just her. Just her.
No.
No, but one that sticks out was probably her denim fit this year. I don't know. I think it was a couple games ago, but the denim fit was nice.
Take our next. Oh, I'm sorry, Raven. Did you answer? I apologize.
I was just saying all her Louis Vuitton stuff.
Yeah, all Louis
I need
Vuitton. Yeah, then some hard fits.
Yeah.
We're gonna take our next question from the back.
Hey, Whitney Sullivan with WLTX in Columbia. So every team has its own heartbeat. What's the heartbeat of this team?
Tahina Papa.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'll help you decide. Tahina, go first, please.
That's a good question. Perseverance. I think we experienced a lot of things we didn't experience last year, and every time we, lost or did something, we learned from that opportunity and grown from that opportunity. I thought that heartbeat was just perseverance and how we got tougher, and our toughness is, going through battles together. And I'm just really proud of this team, and we know that the job's not done. So I'm gonna say perseverance.
We're gonna stay to our left. We're gonna go to this third row, then we'll come back up to the front.
Hey guys, Joe Machico with the Big Spur. The seatbelt gang is something you guys have really latched on to defensively. I believe both of you guys are members now. Where did that start? And then just walk me through how cool it is to be connected on the defensive end of the floor this time of year.
Let's start with Raven. Sorry.
It originally started with J.C. Horns with football. He called himself the seatbelt game, and then Dejanay Carrington during the WNBA season, she did like something like this, and she said seatbelt game. So me and Breezy, we was like, we locked down offenders. Like, we need to be a part of seatbelt game. So we just started, saying we're seatbelt game. And Pal had like 4 blocks.
I had my little defensive moment,
And now she's a part of seatbelt game. So it honestly mean like you're honestly don't come on our island when it comes to defense. Like, when we're in front of you, just know you're gonna have to make a tough bucket. Honestly, so
I'm gonna move up to the front.
Hey y'all, Misha Jones with Rising Media Stars. And so you obviously got Don Staley, one of the best guards to ever play the game, but you also have Jolette Law on the staff, your assistant coach, who is an amazing guard in her own right. Both of y'all play the guard position. Both of y'all have to, carry that mantle for this squad. So what does she bring to each of you individually, and how has she helped you grow as basketball players?
honestly, if she in every practice when she don't hear my voice, she screams at me. I'd be like, all right, like that's enough, honestly. So I feel like her energy every day, it helps us a lot, and not even just on me not talking with the defense. And if I take a play off on defense, like she's always constantly in my ear, like you cannot take a possession off. So you need a coach like that, honestly. And I know that she played with the Harlem. What do you call them? Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she's a great coach. You hear her constantly through practice, reminding us that we got to talk, and she's done a really good job with that. And just her passing ability, I'm so amazed by it. And she gives me pointers about it because I can be a better passer, but she's just been able to, pour into me, pour into not only as a basketball player, but as a woman as well. And, it's really nice to have a coach like that in your corner.
We'll take our last question for student athletes right here, second row.
Hi, Carolyn Bryan, Women's Sports Weekly podcast. Coach Staley has talked about quite a bit how you react to change really well and implement that change. Can you both talk a little bit about in your personal games how you have taken some changes and implemented it?
Okay. I feel like in Sweet 16, Elite 8, we had to fight for some wins. They weren't easy. It wasn't cute. It wasn't pretty. So I feel like, we just had to dig in deeper and come out with a W. So honestly, just being together and staying connected.
I agree.
Want to thank you both for your time today, and best of luck tomorrow. At
Thank
this
you.
time, the mixed zone is now open, locker room is now open, and we will also fill questions from coach. We'll start in the back and then work our way up. In the orange, on the left-hand side. On the other side, he actually has a microphone for you right there.
Craig Way, Longhorn Radio Network. Coach, I heard your players talk about the heart and determination and things of that nature when you play somebody for a fourth time. Does much change for you and for your staff in terms of how you prepare them based on a game in Greenville 3 weeks ago, or the game in Austin, the game in Columbia? Is it an amalgam in terms of what you have to do in terms of preparing? Do you see that much difference from those 3 games?
Not much different, besides you probably have to put a little bit more emphasis on being able to stay organized when they take your first and your second option away. And, most of the time is what you call broken plays. So we can stay more organized in broken plays because they do a really good job of making you go a little bit deeper into your offense. So you got to make sure that you know what we're doing, and it's not just, happenstance or chaotic. So it's more about that. But, we're not going to stray too far left or right from the things that we've done that were positive, that would help us. And then we, knock on wood, we can identify the things that when we did get beat in Texas, what those things were that put us in a bad position.
I'll stay to our left.
All right, Matt Baker with The Athletic. NIL has obviously changed a lot in college sports, and there's a new era coming, we presume, with revenue sharing soon. How do you expect the revenue sharing to kind of impact the types of programs that are capable of contending for Final Fours and championships?
Well, I think you're going to need more. I mean, if you look at the rev share and how much women's basketball programs will get, it seems like more than what you normally have to work with. But when you compare it to some of the numbers that are being thrown at that some of these our young people, I don't know how they can operate in that space with rev share. I know there are, I know with us we have money that we've raised from donors in the NIL space that we're going to have to utilize all up before rev share takes place next week. So we have that to fill our roster and to go into the portal if there's somebody in there that we need to get. But that pool of money is more than what we probably get in rev share. So how do we give a figure out like today, and then the rev share is this next year, and that doesn't add up. That just doesn't add up. So it's just that it's always going to be something. But we have done something creative. Like I think Texas, us, Duke, and UCLA are all going to play in the Players Era tournament next year. It's things like that that will help in the NIL space, because NIL and rev share are 2 different things. They don't really work hand in hand. So it's a lot that you have to work, through, and you do need somebody on staff, which is more money, to keep all the chaos organized, especially during a time like this. Like we're in the Final Four. We are, I'm talking to parents, I'm talking to people in the transfer portal, I'm talking to agents, I'm talking to, like it's a lot. But if you're not someone that can easily pivot, this thing will swallow you up. We're fortunate that we've been working in chaos for a long time, that it just feels normal.
Coach, we're going to shift to our left.
Dawn, you've had Breezy for 4 years. In the past 2 years, she's been a starter and usually guarding the opponent's best player. What do you think of her defense? How's it improved since you've seen her? And do you think she's maybe underrated as a defender?
She's definitely underrated as a defender. And I think our game sometimes looks at stats. I mean, she's not one that's going to steal the ball. She's one that's going to get your top scorer shooting at an inefficient clip, and that's her claim to fame. I think over the years she's got more confident, like she's got more intrigued with how to shut people down. Wait, okay, if she does this, she's asking a lot of questions about, defense and positioning and what she should do in these situations. And she's really locked in when it comes to that side because she knows that she's got to do her part. And her part is a big part that we rely on to get wins. And that's not scoring a whole lot of points. It's actually preventing our opponents from scoring a lot of points. And she does it. She's in my top 5 in my 25 years of coaching.
Coach, we're going to shift to our right. We're going to go Sean, then Doug.
Sean Hurd, Anscape. Don, you've emphasized that trust is kind of the baseline in terms of your ability to develop your players. I'm just curious, what are the biggest keys to sustaining that trust or, growing that trust over a player's time at SC, despite all the distractions and pressures that come with today's game?
I mean, you have to condition young people to handle like real communication. Because if it just happens once, they're not going to get it. And if it happens once and then a month later, they really aren't really connecting the two. So you have to address everything that's happening in front of them in real time. And then they'll get used to it. They may not like what you're saying. They might like what you're saying at times. And that's what builds trust. Like it's not, it's not, oh, I'm the head coach, you'll listen to me and don't, do what that's not, that's old parenting, right? It's a new age parenting that's out here that kids have a say. They want to be listened to. They have something to offer you. And that is how they think and how they feel and how they want to move and how they want to operate. And if it's within what we want to do as a program, carry on. But if it isn't, let's sit down, let's talk about some stuff. Right? And it is just that. It's over and over and over again to where you condition them to listen and you condition them to have input, and that builds trust. Communication builds trust. They're not in a place where we just leave them and say, hey, this is what I want you to do, and that's it. And then you know what they're gonna do? They're gonna go back to where they are. They're gonna think about it. She doesn't think I'm this good. I can't do this. Hey, mom, this is what she said to me. Hey, friend, this is what she said to me. Now I got like 3 people that's talking about the opposite of what I'm saying. I need the majority. I need the majority saying we're all saying the right things to the principal. Our players are the principal. And that's how you build it. You build it with every person that has our players' ears. Like, because it's a lot of them. It's a lot of people that they talk to and they listen to, and we want to make sure that we have the biggest voices, in our players' heads.
We're going to go to Doug. We'll go back to Michael, and then we'll come back up front.
Hey, Don, Doug Feinberg, the AP.
Oh, got you, Doug.
In the past, you've been very vocal about things to make the game better. Getting units this year obviously is a step in the right direction. Other things that they've fixed. Where do you think the health of the women's basketball game is right now, with ratings being pretty strong this year, coming off of last year's monster numbers? What would you like to see now the next step be for women's basketball as one who has a very loud and very strong voice in the game? What would you like to see sort of get better going forward?
Well, I would like since we're in this rev share space, our rev share, our ability to bring in more revenue is increasing. Okay, so women's basketball has been held at a certain place. Now that rev share is a part of it, we're not considered a revenue producing sport prior to us, being in demand. But we're becoming a revenue producing sport. Not there yet, but the rev share dollars won't allow us more because it's based off of what happened like prior to the decision on Tuesday, I think. Like, so I would like to see us grow a little bit more in that. I mean, money talks. And the more money that we can produce, the more that we can ask for more. But we've been held down. Like we've been held down for decades to now, now we're in a good place. I think we need to go back to the table and talk about some things. And from a rev share, I think we need to continue to increase the units. I do think women's basketball needs its own television deal. I do think we need our own deal. And then we really will find where we are in our worth.
We'll go to the back. Michael, if you could raise your hand.
Coach Staley, you played against Vic's teams, both Mississippi State and Texas, I think 5 times for the SEC tournament title. And then in the 2017 national championship, you won all those. Are there certain things you guys have been able to do well against his style of play, and how might that help in terms of going against them again tomorrow?
I mean, we're both defensive minded. So it's probably we've had a bigger offensive spurt throughout those games that we've played, that were at a higher stake. And I do think is going to take that. I mean, we're not going to rely on our success against them to say, hey, we beat them. No, I'm looking at the loss, from this year and how we can prevent that. One, we got to stay out of foul trouble and not have to adjust to. I think the times that they beat us, it was foul trouble for us, like early foul trouble where we had to change up how we just substitute, and that throws our cadence off. So I think it's just about our bigger offensive runs at any given time within the game.
We're going to come to the front, go Annie. We're going to go across to the gentleman in the black, and we'll go from there.
Dawn, Annie Costable from Front Office Sports. Sorry, I almost just said my previous employer.
Front Office Sports. That's my shirt from y'all.
You talked about the transfer portal just being open during the tournament, and you're fielding calls. You're doing a lot. You're also playing in a game. Do you anticipate having to hire someone to play GM? Is that a role that you think will become commonplace?
Yes, it will. It's necessary. I don't know if we'll call it GM, but it will be some of the duties of a GM. So yes, I think it's a lot of money in the space. It's a lot of moving parts that we need somebody singularly focused on that movement and ways in which we need to navigate in that space. So, if we're here at a Final Four, the GM can be taking care of some of the stuff that we have to take on now. I think it's cool though. I like the fact that it's new and different, and if you can get pretty creative and organized in the space, you can, even amongst this chaos, you can really use it to help your program.
Do you appreciate the juggle, coaching and taking?
Yeah, I got ADD, so it stimulates me. It stimulates my ADD.
We're going to go to our left, take our final question.
Dawn, Roger Wallace from NBC in Austin. What do you see in Madison Booker's game? What do you like about it, and what problems does she cause?
Just a bona fide scorer. Not even a bona fide scorer. She's a playmaker. Like she can score the basketball with the best of them. She can play multiple positions, so she's versatile. She can facilitate. She's a really great rebounder. I mean, she's a difficult matchup. Like you really have to, you have to play her 1.5 players. Like you can't just straight up play her because she has so much of a skill set that if you don't show whoever's guarding her and then show, close her space off, I mean, because she's able to rise above. She's a big guard that could pretty much get her shot off at any given time. And then you got to make her play defense. She's a willing defender, but with how much she needs to score for them, you got to make her play on that other side of the basketball, so that pretty jump shot isn't as pretty in minute 30 as it is in minute 5.
Coach, want to thank you for your time today. Best of luck tomorrow.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Well, just a reminder for everyone that the locker room and mix zone are open until 1:30 p.m. We will reconvene back in this room with UConn beginning at 1:25 p.m. Few housekeeping items before we get started and reminders for those who have been in the press conferences earlier today. We're scheduled to begin in approximately 3 minutes. We will have the student athletes and coach join us up here on the dais. Coach will make an opening statement. Coach will make an opening statement. Following Coach's opening statement, we'll field questions to the student athletes only. We ask that you hold your questions for Coach until after we dismiss the student athletes. We'll dismiss the student athletes at approximately 1:40. At that time, when we dismiss the student athletes, they will head across to the mix zone. Locker rooms will open at that time as well. Then we'll field questions for Coach. As a reminder, please silence your cell phones. This is a hybrid press conference, so we'll take questions in the room and then to Zoom as time permits. We have mic holders in the room. I ask that you raise your hands high so that we can get the microphone to you. Please do not speak if you do not have a microphone in front of you. And please state your name and affiliation when you do ask your question. Here's rolls of just be careful as you line them out and sit down. Thank you. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. Thanks. That was my first instruction. No, he comes up.
Oh my goodness.
We need him for time.
You're on hold today.
We're gonna hold till Coach gets up here. I'll direct traffic. Yes, direct. No. I don't do a list. I actually, as you raise your hands, I start, that is my list in my head, so I'm marking you down. So there is no priority. I try to do it as I see it. We still need him to join us. Is he okay with? He's okay with us starting without him being there. We could bring him up following that. Welcome back to the NCAA Women's Final Four press conference. Joining us on the stage are the UConn Huskies. Coach will join us momentarily. He didn't have an opening statement, so we'll start with questions from the student athletes. Just a reminder, we will field these questions from the student athletes, dismiss them to the mix zone. Locker room will be open, and then we'll have Coach join us at that time to field questions. We'll start in the front with Annie and then work our way around. We can get the microphone over.
Annie Costable, Front Office Sports. I'm curious, with the transfer portal being open, are you guys getting texts from people like, hey, good luck in the tournament, but what's it like at UConn?
Paige, you can start.
No.
Aubrey
No.
and Caitlin.
No.
Super easy. We'll go to the second row and then work our way over.
Jen Hadfield with the next. Caitlin, for you, just what do you think the biggest areas are that you've grown as a player during your season with UConn, and how do you feel like Princeton prepared you for all that you've gone through this season and for this moment?
I feel like Princeton has prepared me really well as a leader. I feel like that's where I got comfortable using my voice, and I feel like that's sort of translated over here. And then being here at UConn, it's just a matter of getting comfortable playing within our system and finding the best places for me to succeed.
We're gonna go to our left.
Coach Trey from SB Nation. This for you, Paige. Right now, you on a tear. Like, you going wild right now. In your mind, do you already feel like you're a pro going against college kids?
No, not at all. Just being present here. I'm still in college. It being my 5th year. Obviously I want to use my experience as an advantage and use that to help myself and to help the team. But definitely, just staying present here in college.
We're gonna stay to our right. Kareem, if you could raise your hand, I see you. We'll put you on the list.
Hey, Paige, Kareem Copeland, Washington Post. How did you, obviously the championship is the goal, but how did you kind of want to approach this one more run in this tournament? And, like you just said, you've kind of really turned it up these last 3. So personally, how did you want to approach this tournament?
Just approaching it as one game at a time, one practice at a time, one weight room session at a time, and not looking too forward into the future and going 40 minutes by 40 minutes. And playing it by possession. I think focusing on the possession that you're in will help you not worry about missed shots or mistakes in the past or worry about being anxious for the future. But the possession that you're in is the most important possession of the season. And if you approach every possession like that, you'll have a sense of urgency to get everything right. And just enjoying it, embracing it. Obviously it's my last year. It's all of our last years here. So just to be able to enjoy being here together, and enjoy the little things like hanging out, saunaing together, cold tubbing together, eating together, like all the little things that you sometimes take for granted. Don't take them for granted and just enjoy them as much as you can.
We'll stay to our right. Doug, please raise your hand.
Doug Feinberg, the Associated Press. For all 3 of you, what challenges does UCLA present for you guys?
Start?
Yes, please.
Obviously, Lauren Betts, the size, what she does offensively, defensively, protecting the paint, and being a force on offense, really carving out space for herself, but also what she does to get her teammates open looks, with all the attention that she draws. And it's not just her. There's shooters sprayed around the outside, so you can't focus on too much on one thing. So they're really versatile in what they do offensively, defensively. Got good size, good length. So they got great pieces.
I agree. They have great pieces, especially Lauren Betts in the inside. And I think if we do a good job of we gotta play both and play their inside and outside. They have some great shooters too. So I think they're very versatile. Yeah, everything the two of them already said.
We're going to the center of the room.
Hi, Paige. Kurt Sandoval from ABC7. When you stepped into this program, it's a legendary women's program. Can you speak to the pressure then, and did it ever diminish? How did it become, or has it ever become just normal?
Well, I think before you even get here, you kind of know the pressures that exist by committing to UConn. So by making that decision to want to come here and try to live up to that and be a part of a legendary program, it's a decision you have to make before you even step on a campus. And then once you walk inside the practice facility, you see all the history, all the names, all the banners. It's just motivation. And obviously there's expectations here, and anything less than a national championship is really a disappointment. And as players, that's what you play for and what you want to live up to, and the expectations and the pressure. It's a privilege. And so we all look at it as such. And we're just extremely grateful to play here under the best coaching staff in the world and in the best program in the world. And we just wear the jersey with pride and want to live up to everything that the alums have done and that the coaching staff has done.
Take our next question, Cassandra, then we'll come to Mel.
Cassandra Negley with Yahoo Sports. Paige, when you were talking about not taking anything for granted, the saunas, the food, everything like that, how different is that from your first Final Four? Do you feel like you did take those final moments with some of those teammates for granted?
I wouldn't say that. It's just that you don't even recognize how important they are to life and how you're not ever guaranteed to get back there again. And having experience being at the Final Four, how hard it is to get there and how hard it is to maintain consistency throughout a long entire season. So not that you take those things for granted, but you don't have the experience on how hard it is to get there. And so just learning throughout the whole journey of the seasons, the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows, just taking none of that for granted because it's all a part of that season's journey. So I would just say a more appreciation of it.
Mel.
Mel Greenberg for Caitlin. When most people are transferring out the door right now, it's contentious. The Ivies, it's the other way. They tell you you're done, good luck. So it's going to be a more friendly departure, given who your coach is. And also, we found it interesting the other night that you did the same role that she did in '95 as sort of a lifesaver in a key spot. But in leaving, did she kind of, granted he's an older guy now, give you the book of UConn or whatever, whatever you can share on that when you were making your decision?
She was definitely a very helpful resource as someone who played here and knows the coaches very well. But I just know that she has she had my best interest in mind, and she's someone who I trust tremendously, and someone who helped me make this decision for sure.
Going to go to our left in the gray. If you could raise your hand. Yep, dead center.
I'm Mike Anthony from Hurston, Connecticut for Paige. Paige, I know that this sport isn't easy on one's body. In your 5 years at UConn, what have you learned about taking care of your body? Wondering if you could just speak to how any body transformation you've seen in 5 years. I know you take more seriously strength and conditioning and nutrition, and just a lot goes into that. I understand.
Yeah, I would say the importance of eating, getting all 3 meals, of course, but also stuff in between, sleeping, how important that is for the body and rest and recovery, and making sure you're replenishing yourself with a good night's rest. Pilates has been a game changer for me in terms of getting all of my body parts to work together as one, everything surrounded by the core. So making sure my core is engaged, and even just activation. I was a person who just loved to tie their shoes and get on the court and play, but activating my muscles before participation. So I mean, a lot of things go into taking care of your body, and obviously strength and conditioning is the main ingredient, but there's a lot of other things that are important.
Going to stay middle to the back. If you could raise your hand in the green so the student athletes can see you.
Dama Mori, Hartford Current. Paige, I know Gino alluded to this the other day. Obviously, Lauren Betts has talked about it. the scrutiny and the pressure that comes with what you do and where you do it. How did you learn to kind of deal with that? I imagine there were times when it was even more than you thought it was going to be. How did you learn to handle all of that goes around being a basketball player at UConn?
Yeah, I mean, it's still a learning process. Learning to care less about the opinions of others, and trying to please everyone. For every 500 people that love you, there's going to be 5 that hate you. So it's just focusing on the people that are important. And obviously there's a saying like, you don't take criticism from people you wouldn't take advice from. So just making sure you're listening to the right voices. Deleting social media is a great word of advice as well. So just not paying attention to it, not letting anything outside of this locker room, the program that we have, infiltrate what we have. So
We're going to stay to our left in the blue. If you could raise your hand so we can get the microphone to you.
Chelsea Sherrod, SNY. Aubrey and Caitlin, this question's for you. Paige has talked about a sense of urgency that she's playing with right now, and I think we've been seeing that over the past few games. I wonder what that urgency looks like for the two of you and kind of how that shows up in your approach to the games.
We can start with Aubrey.
I think her sense of urgency rubs off on everyone, just how hardworking she is, and you can tell she's really determined, and the traits that she brings to the games, it rubs off on everyone. Her leadership is something that we all look up to her for, and she's done a great job of just being that leader this year, and it's overall been great.
Yeah. And I feel like when we see her sort of take it into like that next level, like turn the switch during games, it's pretty infectious. Like it's something you want to be a part of, and you see her giving her all, and so like you want to give your all as well.
We are at time for our student athletes. At this time, student athletes will move over to the mix zone. The locker room for UConn is now open, and we will be joined on the dais by Coach.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, Coach. All right, Coach, we are going to begin on our right-hand side. Joe, we'll go to you. I see you, Doug, and I see you as well.
Yeah. Gino, Joey Johnston from the Tampa Bay Sports Commission. Your friend, Jose Fernandez, is about to become the president of the WBCA. Could you speak about your relationship with him, what you think he can bring to this role, and what you think the WBCA's priorities are for the coming year?
Well, yeah, I've known Jose for 30 years now almost, and I think he's a tremendous coach, obviously, as everybody knows, but he cares deeply about the game itself. He's been involved in various committees, so he puts the time and the effort that it takes. I was in that role, and so I know it's a thankless role because you're trying to bring a lot of different agendas to the table and try to make them all go in the same direction. Not always easy. Hopefully, he can get the right people in the room to be okay with thinking outside the norm, asking the right people for advice. There's a lot of administrators, there's a lot of coaches, there's a lot of ADs that they've been to multiple Final Fours with the men and the women. And I think a lot of times we say, well, just because the guys do it, that doesn't mean we should do it. That's absolutely true. We do something that they don't do, which is, we have quarters. They're the only people that bounce a basketball play halves. We advance the ball so the game lasts longer, so you have more opportunities to win the game, you know? We did away with the one-on-one and all that. We've come up with some great ideas that have helped our game. But I also think we're sometimes afraid to look at what they do that enhances their tournament and see whether or not that fits what we want to do. And not be married to tradition, I guess is what I'm saying. And bring the game, as I've been a big proponent of this, and I'm going to talk to Jose about this, bring the game to more people. By going to 2 regionals, we've taken the game away from the people, and I think we need to bring it back to where more people can be in the stands. And lastly, we need to change the schedule. We need to finish way earlier than we finish now so that we don't come here Tuesday night, 3,000 miles, and then practice Wednesday and Thursday and play the biggest game of the year on Friday night at 9:30. You know, and we were the last team to play on Monday. And the team we play was home Sunday afternoon. So, and that just goes for whoever played in that game. I just happen to be that person today. So we need to change the schedule so that we have more time, and maybe we need to finish on a different weekend than the men finish. Maybe we need to finish a week earlier. We do it for the conference tournaments, right? So there's a lot of things I want to talk to him about. He might be the one guy that will ask me, so that's not a bad thing.
We're going to do a little bit of a zigzag. We'll go Doug, then we'll go Dom, and then we'll work our way back.
Hey, Gino, Doug Feinberg, the AP.
Yeah.
Corey was saying before that, I guess 13 years ago, she came to watch you guys practice in the NCAA tournament. I think she said Sweet 16 round, and then came back with her staff the year later. Just can you talk about her relationship with her and just the fact you're willing to open up the biggest time of the year to let a coach who was new, so to speak, at a school come and learn from you guys, and now you're playing her on the stage.
Yeah. If I'd have known, I wouldn't have let her in. Yeah, I just remember when I was a young coach, especially in high school, when I was a young coach in high school, always admired the coaches that were open and willing to share ideas, their ideas. I've never been one to want to hide anything or, oh my God, they're competitors. And one of the funniest things that ever happened was 3 kids, from Tennessee showed up for practice for like 2 or 3 days. And they thought, they called ahead, obviously. They didn't just walk in, but everybody thought at that time, oh my God, this is like, the Cold War, the Russians are coming, right? And it was so much fun for us, for them. Basketball is basketball, and it's our job to share it if we have anything that's worth it. And if they think we have something that's worth it, and you can't worry about, anything else. And our relationship with, and through USA Basketball, Corey and I got to know each other a little bit, and we both share, passion for wines, and, so her energy and all that she has, that she brings, is just infectious, I think. And I'm glad when coaches have success, and that's what we're here for.
We're going to go to that's our left.
Dom Amori, Hartford Current. Gino, you've coached a couple of Hall of Famers at UConn, and that number could double in the next couple of days. I was wondering if you can give us your thoughts on the possibility of a couple of more of your players going into the Hall of Fame.
It's so unbelievable that when you think of a 17-year-old that you're sitting there talking to, and you're projecting them as freshmen and sophomores in college and juniors in college, and where do I think they can be, and how much impact could they have on our program, and all those great things. And when they're there, you realize there's something special about them. And fast forward, and then to look up and realize that their wildest dreams have come true. I mean, what kid doesn't shoot a basket when they're 10 and think about winning a national championship, winning, a gold medal, and then somebody goes, you're the best player in the country. But I don't know that any one of those kids ever came to UConn saying, you know what, I came here to make the Hall of Fame, to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. I don't think anybody said that. Maybe Diana did because, but for me to see, what's happened up there with Rebecca and Swin, and now Maya and Sue obviously being in the mix, that pretty much is bigger than when you look back than all the national championships. Who? They're Hall of Famers for me. They're Hall of Famers for their family. They're Hall of Famers for everybody. They're even Hall of Famers for the UConn haters. That's one thing they can all agree on. They're Olympian Hall of Famers. They're WNBA Hall of Famers. They're college Hall of Famers. They're Hall of Famers as people, most of all.
I'm going to go to our right. Ben, if you could raise your hand so Coach can see you.
Ben Pickman with The Athletic. Dawn was in here earlier and she mentioned that she wants or she hopes that college basketball would have its own TV deal to determine its worth. I guess, where do you stand on?
Who said that?
Dawn.
About?
The media rights deal.
Oh, the women's basketball should have their own?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought they were doing stuff like that. I thought they were trying to spin it off. I don't know where that got, and it probably didn't get as far as maybe it could have. But we talk about that all the time. And we also, it's funny because we talk about it in our league. We talk about it as UConn. How do we get more value for our brand? Is it worth more than if you put it into collectively a bunch of other stuff? So it's worth exploring, I think. When you put it out there, you're going to have to be ready for it. May be smaller than you think, and it may be 3 times larger than you think. So it's best to find out, right? Instead of just keep wondering. So yeah, I would think that would be fantastic.
I'm going to stay to the center of the room, Coach.
Hey, Gino, Matt Baker with The Athletic. Another kind of big picture question, but revenue sharing probably going to be finalized and signed off on here in the next couple of days or weeks. What sort of impact do you expect that to have on your game and the types of programs that are able to compete for women's Final Fours?
Well, it'll ruin parity. That's number one. I'm for revenue sharing. There will be less parity in the game of basketball. If you look at right now, there's less parity happening every year in men's basketball. People talk about the football, 12 schools. It's the same 4 in the Final Four, seems like every year. And as the money now drives it, there's going to be less people that have that kind of money. There's going to be less of them that are going to want to give it to women's basketball. So if the number of teams that could win the national championship, when it was us and Tennessee and everybody wanted anybody to win other than UConn and Tennessee, and then it kind of stretched. Now you look at the landscape today, and it's still a lot of the same teams, but there's a lot more vying for that spot in the Final Four. Well, now that's all going to go away. Now it'll become like college football, where in every conference, and as the conferences get bigger, think about it, it's 18 teams in the Big Ten for now, okay? I would venture to say 8 of those teams will never get to the championship game in any sport. I'm talking about basketball, football, men's basketball maybe. So when you do those kind of things and it's money driven, it's going to be who's going to become the Dodgers and the Yankees, and how many of those are you going to have, and how many other programs in women's basketball are going to be Milwaukee and Kansas City, because that's where we're headed. And don't believe this 20.5 million salary cap. See, the thing in the NBA, if you go over the salary cap, there's a huge tax. There's a salary cap in revenue sharing in sports in college. You think anybody in their right mind is going to stick to 20.5? That might be what's on the books, but that ain't going to be the final number. And there's nobody out there looking around to collect taxes on that.
Coach, we're going to go to our right.
Hey, Coach. And we play UCLA. They're really good.
Yeah.
Just thought I'd throw that in.
Hey, Coach, T. Baker with the Next. Caitlin Chen obviously had a great Elite Eight, and when you think about what she's brought all season, what has been the biggest difference she's brought to the team, and what gap has she filled in the roster?
Maturity, experience, things that we obviously lost when Nika graduated. She's a different player than Nika, different personality, approaches things differently, different skill set. But in what we needed for this particular team, I think she's been the perfect addition. Obviously, Sarah Strong was the biggest addition. I think Caitlin Chen was the perfect addition for what this team needed at the position that we needed it. And so you saw in the other night in that game why it was worth bringing her in. And I have had a blast coaching her. I mean,
We'll go to the second row on our left.
contrary to Ivy League students, they do have a sense of humor.
Hi, I'm Stephanie from SB Nation. There have been a few players not from UConn this tournament run who have expressed they've come from traumatic or toxic environments to other schools. You have a wealth of coaching experience, and you obviously have players for decades that adore you. What do coaches need to do better?
Man, oh man. Even if I knew, I wouldn't tell you. I mean, I can share, but I can't share that much. I just think this incredible pressure to win and the pressure to your question about revenue sharing, the pressure to win is only going to get greater. You mean I'm paying you guys and this is what I got to watch? Somebody's getting fired. So the pressure's immense. It's only going to get more pressure packed. So how do you react under pressure? Well, if you've been there and done that and you're secure, you just stay the course and say, this is what we do. And if you don't like it, tough. If you're young and you're trying to make a name for yourself and you're like close or not quite there, well, I can buy a team. It's better than recruiting one. I got to wait forever for them to get better. I just go out and buy a team. Well, now the kids all know they came to your school to get paid. And when everybody's getting paid and they find out who's getting paid, what, and the animosity now between coaches and players. It used to be, players didn't like the fact that coaches had all the power. Well, now coaches hate the fact that players have all the power. Players on the team hate each other because of what one is getting, the other one's not getting. And all of a sudden, nobody's coming there to win a national championship. They're coming there to build their brand, to make their money. And oh, by the way, if we get to the Final Four, wouldn't that be cool? Does that happen in every program? Hell no. I bet you 90% of the programs in America, that's not the case. But the ones you're talking about, that's exactly the case.
Take our final question from the back, Chantel, if you could raise your hand.
Hey, Gino, Chantel Jennings with The Athletic. In Spokane, you said that Paige has a little bit of Diana in her. I was hoping you could expand on that. What about her on or off the court reminds you the most of Dee?
Obviously, there's a lot of similarities, and there's so many differences as well. They, in the best sense of the word, number one, they are both exceptional con artists. They can spin things so that it goes their way about 99.9% of the time. So they live in that world, which I admire that, because winners do that. They have to be right. They have to be at the top. They have to be unchallenged. So they've got that going for them. They're both extremely outgoing. They both enjoy other people's company. They're accommodating to other people. They're respectful. They're great team players. They're both generous to their teammates, both on the court, off the court. They have a flair for the moment. They can summon up something that's needed at the time when it's exactly needed. They take responsibility for what happens. They're not afraid of the criticism that might come if they fail. And I don't think anybody loves being in the gym more than those two. And if you ask them where's their happy place, and they could be any place in the world at any time, they would tell you, in a gym by myself, doing what I love to do. And that's the best way I can describe both of them in how do they compare. Now, how are they different? That would be a whole different press conference.
And speaking of which, we want to thank you for your time today, Coach.
Thank you.
Best of luck
Appreciate
tomorrow.
it.
A reminder for those in the room that the locker room for UConn is still open until 2:10 p.m. And all of the press conferences today are available on the NCAA's digital media hub. We'll reconvene at 2:35 p.m. with Texas. Scheduled to begin in approximately 5 minutes. Just want to run through the housekeeping again for everyone in the room. A reminder to please silence your cell phones. This will be a hybrid press conference with media obviously on site as well as those via Zoom. We'll take questions in the room and then to Zoom as time permits. Student athletes are going to join us up here on the dais with Coach. We'll have Coach do an opening statement, and then we will field questions from the student athletes. I ask that you hold your questions for Coach until after we dismiss the student athletes. The student athletes will go to the mix zone, and the locker room will open at that time as well, and then we will conduct questions for Coach. Recordings of the press conference are available on the NCAA's digital media hub. And then just a reminder, following this press conference at approximately 4:45 p.m., in this room, we will conduct the AP Coach and Player of the Year press conference. And then approximately 5:25 p.m., the WBCA Coach of the Year and Wade Trophy press conference will take place.
Got an answer within 15 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you plan on it's the board, you know, I think the board gives some more TV.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Thanks.
I do. Thank you so much. You don't have to.
Well, you don't have anything on my mouth. I just got diabetes. Welcome back to the NCAA Women's Final Four pre-championship press conference. Joining us on the stage are the Texas Longhorns. We'll hear an opening statement from Coach Schaefer and follow up with questions for Rory, Madison, and Shay. Coach, if we could start with your opening statement.
Yeah, thank you. First, just really proud of my team. They have shown great toughness and resilience all year long. Not much has been made of our potentially early in the year losing 2 starters, and yet this team just continues to work and get better. It's been great having Rory back after her injury a year ago. But this team's earned it. They've earned their way. I have been really honored to be their coach this year. They've done everything we've asked them to do and then some. The good Lord's blessed me with just an incredible group of young ladies. And for them to, our first year in the SEC, to go in there and be co-champions with South Carolina is, you know, winning's really hard, y'all. And people think it's easy till it ain't. And this group has just continued to work hard, get better. Booker's had another All-American year, obviously, 2-time back-to-back first-team All-American, special kid, special player. All these kids, tell you, on my team, what makes them fun to be around, first of all, they're a hoot off the floor. It's a pretty loose group, but on the floor, there's so much humility in our locker room. Kids are grateful, and that's, unfortunately, in the real world, that's not real common, but it is on our team. We have a team full of grateful and very humble kids, and so we're honored to be here. We're honored to be representing the University of Texas, and I think this group, we have a thing right now that job's not done. We're excited that we got past the Elite Eight in Birmingham, but these kids are here to compete, and so am I. And I couldn't be more proud to be with this group. I've told them all year long, y'all, they're good enough. I knew what I was looking at back in August on the track. I've seen it every day. I think we've had 106 or 108 practices, and they're good enough. And I'm really happy for them that they're here. They've had a great time so far, but they've separated the good time from work. And when we've stepped on the court the last 2 days, they've done a great job. So hopefully we'll play, we're going to play really well tomorrow night. And again, I couldn't be more proud of a group of young ladies. They are special.
With that, we'll start with questions for student athletes. We'll go to the front.
David Cloninger, Post and Courier. Madison, this will be the 4th time you've seen South Carolina this year, and that's the 4th time you've seen Bree Hall this year. What do you think of Bree Hall as a defender?
She's a great defender. I mean, I was kind of shocked she wasn't on like our conference defensive team or anything like that. Long, lean, athletic. She definitely makes you think on the court as an offensive player. Yeah, she's a great player. I totally have all my respect to her. Definitely, make me think. Like I said, great player.
We're going to stay to our left in the center. Raise your hand.
Jen Hadfield with the next. For all 3 of you, it was just mentioned you guys playing South Carolina 4 times. Can you talk about kind of how you approach that, and does it feel like you know them inside and out at this point, or just how are you guys approaching that familiar matchup?
Yeah, I feel like we do know them inside out as much as they probably know us inside out. So there's this saying that we've kind of been living by since the tournament started, but once talent meets talent and all that, it's basically, it doesn't really matter anymore. It's about preparation and who's going to step up on the biggest stage that we are in right now, and who's going to be the tougher team. So
we're going to go to the middle right here in the black.
Leo Haggerty, Amped Up Sports here in Tampa. For all 3 of you, Shay, starting with you, when you get here, it's a business trip. Which one of your teammates is basically saying, okay, we're here for a reason? Who's the one you're looking for that glue to keep that team together?
Yeah, we're a veteran group, so I would say there's more than one of us doing that, which I think is partly what separates this team from years past. I think all of us, even the young kids, know that this is a business trip, and yes, our days are jam-packed with a lot of things that aren't necessarily practice, and you have to separate that, like Coach said, but I think we've done a really good job of that. But yeah, I would say obviously we have a good amount of seniors, so we're all good about that. We try to preach to our freshmen, but honestly, they don't need that much help. Like, they know it just as much as we do, the work we've put in to get here.
Yeah, basically what she said, and we understand, this is not saying it's a once in a lifetime opportunity, obviously, but you don't get a whole bunch of chances to go through this. And so we do understand we want to enjoy the moment and stay loose. But when it's time to step on the court, like Shay said, we know what's at stake. We want to stay here as long as we can. So, yeah.
Madison, I think you're next.
I'm so sorry, but what was the question?
Can you repeat the question for her?
Who's the glue that keeps your team together now? This is a business trip.
Yeah.
You want to make sure you stay focused. Which one on your team is responsible?
I would definitely say our freshmen. I think they are the key to our team. They're definitely, I think they help us, stay in the moment and have fun. Kind of like throughout this journey, it's kind of, kind of get nervous sometimes thinking about it that, some people last game. And, they kind of just help us, like get our mind off of that, have fun and, be ready to play.
We're going to stay to our right here, sir. I see you.
Dennis Delapena from Fox 7 Austin Sports. For any of the three that want to answer, Vic's been really close to winning this whole thing. What kind of wisdom is he dropping on you guys for somebody that's been here twice before to the final? And how much maybe do you want? I know you want to win for you, but maybe to get it done for Vic.
Let's have Rory answer that.
Oh, yeah. Obviously he's how many? 7 out of the 8 years in Elite Eight. So I think getting to the tournament is one thing, and then you're getting to the Elite Eight, and then now we're in the Final Four. But obviously he's been here before. That just means a lot. Like that's kind of why we come to Texas, because he knows how to win. Like he's quite legendary. And so when we look at these games coming up, and obviously we want it for ourselves, but someone who like sacrifices like spending family time and sacrifices his sleep most times, and stuff like that, like it's so hard for us to just not want to do it for him. Like we gotta not be so kind of tied up in ourselves and wanting the success for ourselves, but we have to show our respect and appreciation for him and of course the rest of our coaching staff.
We're going to transition to our right-hand side. He's behind the pillar, so he's going to have to stand up for you.
There you go. Hey, Jeff Jones from KVU there in Austin. For Madison and Shea, Vic mentioned earlier the impact of losing 2 starters earlier in the season and still making it this far, similar to what y'all went through last year when Rory went down. Madison, what does that do to the team? And Shea, what does that say about the team being able to make this run without those impact players?
Yeah, I definitely think it's, it's kind of sad that, 2 of our starters kind of went down. But they had like impact on the floor, but also off the court too. I mean, they're talking. I mean, they're vets also, so they've been in these situations before. So I just think, there's like their impact off the court as, telling us, things that we need to do. They're seeing stuff that we don't see as we're on the court, but they see what coach is talking about and what we need to fix. And so that's basically, basically like some more eyes as coaches, just like on the sidelines with us. But yeah, they're still helping our team out. Like they're still part of the reason why we're successful as a team.
Yeah, I would say it says a lot about our team. And obviously, like you said, it's happened in years past too. And so I think that really shows like how much Coach Schaefer and the rest of the staff preaches. Like you never know when it's going to be your moment. So you need to be preparing every single day like it's going to be, because once it is, you don't have time to prepare just then. Like you need to be ready for that moment. And he does a really good job, I think, about just really preaching that every single person on a team is needed, no matter what your role is, star in it. And I think this team has really embraced that. And like Maddie said, even when they, if we do have some injuries, like they're so in it like even when they're not on the court with us, like they're coaching us, they're helping us out, they're in our ears and everything like that. So I think it says a lot about this team. And I think that's part of the reason why we've had the success we've had.
We're going to stay to our left in second row. We're going to hit Michael and then the gentleman on far end.
Mike Vopel, ESPN.com. Rory, as hard as you play on defense, and I know that is a Texas thing, but you are going full bore out there every second you're on the court. How long did it take after injury for you to trust yourself to be able to go that hard, to be back to the way that you like to play defense?
It's a really good question. Well, to trust myself, I think it took some time. It wasn't that I didn't trust myself, but I think I just needed more reps. I remember catching myself, going through practice and obviously earlier in the season, and Coach Schaefer's like, it's getting better. It's getting better. You're looking more and more like yourself every day. And sometimes I would say like, I can feel myself wanting to do those certain motions. And it's not like I can't trust myself, but I just needed more reps. And so I think if I didn't trust myself at that point when I was cleared, then I probably shouldn't be on the court. So I think I trusted myself really early on when I was being cleared. I just needed more reps to do it. And just the more reps, me being on the court more, not being afraid to take those steps, like you don't need to be afraid. Like, I'm here, doctor cleared me. I got protection on. Like, there's so many things that, you can't be feared. You can't fear going back out, and you can't not want to just not think about it. So, yeah, I think I trusted myself really early. I just needed more reps.
We can go to our left on this corner.
Bo Underwood, USA Today. This is for whoever wants to take it. But when it is your fourth time playing a team in a season, like how difficult does that make it to prepare for this game when you might feel like you've covered all the ground with this opponent?
Let's have Shay take this question.
Yeah, I would say it's our fourth time playing them, but it's also their fourth time playing us. So it goes both ways in the sense of like, obviously on both sides, it's going to be a really well scouted game. We're going to know play calls, all that stuff. So it's just really how you execute it. You can put in different things. I'm sure they're doing that as well. But at the end of the day, like Rory said, like talent meets talent. It's who wants it more on that given day. So we have to go out and be ready for a tough and physical game. And really just have the energy.
We're going to go to our right-hand side, gentlemen in the gray, then we'll work our way over.
Rory, Kurt Bowles from the Houston Chronicle. When Vic was recruiting you, did he tell you you're going to have to play 40 minutes of defense every night? And I wondered how much he stressed that, and why are you guys so special on defense?
I don't think he had to stress it to me because I think he saw that I was already doing it. I've been playing defense for quite some time, high school and leading up to this point, but that's the reason why I chose to come here, or part of the reason why I chose to come here is because he took that much pride in defense. And I was already showing that at a young age that I really did care about defense, and I understood the fundamentals of defense. Obviously, I didn't know everything then, and I just completely just learned a whole new wave of defense here. But yeah, he didn't have to really like preach that to me, honestly, because he knew I had it.
We're going to stay to our right here.
I'm Gigi with Overtime, and what's something that we don't know about Coach Schaefer?
He used to be an umpire. And he loved doing it. He used to be an umpire, and he used to love doing that a lot. There's a lot of things I think that you guys don't know, but he used to love doing it, and then he decided to take that route of becoming a coach, which I like that route.
We're going to stay to our right here.
Cedric Golden, Austin American Statesman. Rory, you guys have been in some high scoring games, but the TCU game felt like it was more gratifying. Your kind of ball. Do you prefer those kind of gutted out type defensive battles? Because that's what South Carolina might be stacking up to be.
Yeah, I think depending on who we're playing, TCU and South Carolina are two completely different teams. But during that TCU game, yeah, we knew they're as far as their offense, like they're quite the efficient offense and one of the top offenses in the nation. So we really did have to hone in on defense and trying to keep the score as low as possible and not like let it just keep going up. Because I think that's when we keep teams. Our goal is like keeping them under 60, and then also apparently we just found out a stat earlier today. Don't say it. All right. That's fine. But let's just say like when we are playing the best defense and keeping the score pretty low, I think we're at a better chance. But with South Carolina, I think both of us are pretty similar in a way where we both can play defense and we both have weapons to score. So like kind of the name of the game is it's just like who's gonna want it more on this biggest stage that we're at right now, and who's gonna be tougher and bring the most energy.
We'll take our final two questions for student athletes in the row right here on our left-hand side. So we'll go here and then in the orange and white and pink shirt.
Sierra Sohi from The Ringer. This is for all of you guys. I'm curious, which player on the team reminds you the most of your coach and why?
Just due to time, we'll actually just take one if that's okay. And Shay, if you could answer that.
Oh gosh. Okay.
I'm glad it's you.
Reminds me the most of Coach Schaefer. Ooh. I would say, okay, like on the court, we always say like point guard has to be an extension of him. So you definitely like, I catch Rory saying certain sayings that I'm like, okay, where'd you get that from? But I do it too. I think just the longer you're around him, you pick up these like sayings where you're like, oh my gosh, like that was literally Coach Schaefer. Off the court, he's so like outdoorsy and loves to fish and everything. I would say like maybe Taylor has the most similar interests. But yeah, those are my answers.
Nah.
All right, we'll take our final question here. Center, if you could raise your hand, we can get the microphone to you.
Lindsay Plotkin, Longhorns on SI. Madison, so Coach Schaefer mentioned earlier that y'all like to have a lot of fun off the court. And yesterday we saw a bunch of TikToks and y'all even got Coach Schaefer in one. How much convincing did that take? And then what does that just say about the vibe of your team going into this weekend?
I know. That didn't really take any much convincing. I think he wanted to be in TikTok. He was kind of, standing beside me, kind of sad that we didn't invite him. So I was like, just come on, coach. Come on. You can do the money symbol. Yeah. But
Okay.
I mean, that just tells you like the chemistry we have with Coach Schaefer and also as a team too. Like we want to have fun, like you see a lot of times that we're serious, that we're playing basketball, but behind cameras, like this is how we act. Like we act like one big happy family, honestly. But I mean that's the chemistry we have.
At this time, I want to thank Rory, Madison, and Shay for your time today. Best of luck tomorrow. As they transition to the mix zone, the locker room is now open. We will begin with questions for Coach at this time. We're going to start in the front with Maddie and then work our way around. Hey, Coach, we're ready when you are. To our right over here.
Hi, Nick, right here. Maddie Kenny with the New York Post.
Hi, Maddie.
You've been coaching for a while, so I'm just curious, the fact that Gino and UConn has made 16 of the last 17 Final Fours, what does that say about their standard of excellence, and do you consider them one of the greater sports dynasties?
Well, yeah, I think I mentioned this the other day. I mean, when you're a coach and you're really invested in what you do and how you do it, there's lots of coaches, y'all, that coach, and I look at them and think it's just a check to them, just like administrators too, for that matter. But when you have somebody like Coach Auriemma, and I'll even go to Dawn, I mean, you have to respect the level of consistency of excellence that they've done it at. And certainly Coach Auriemma has done it a little bit longer, had that consistency a little bit longer, but just in the last, several years, you have to say that about Coach Staley as well. And so for me, I have a great deal of admiration and respect for both of them, and certainly for Coach Auriemma and how he built that program in Connecticut, literally with his bare hands from the ground up. And then to sustain the level of excellence that he has is really quite remarkable. And so again, I think when you look at both those programs and see where they are, for me, again, I have been doing this a while. I have a great deal of respect and admiration for both of them because they have done it at an incredible level, and they're very consistent year in and year out. And in any profession, y'all, no matter what you're doing, like that's what you strive for. I mean, if you're worth your salt, you're trying to be the best. Like that's where I'm at. I'm chasing the last game. I want it bad for these kids. So it's hard. Winning's really hard. And those, obviously Coach Auriemma has won a lot.
We're going to stay to the front. Mel.
Mel Greenberg. Actually, following up on that, if you looked at this whole field from above, from the helicopter, might this be the most impactful from the four teams, and the fact that whoever wins it Sunday night will have had to go through 3 gauntlets to win this thing? And the fact that these teams, as much as people cry on those Cinderellas, but this has been a standard of excellence. They've all been in the top 10 basically all year long, and flipped to the 5 a couple of times.
I think they said 3 of the 4 teams have been ranked number 1 in the country this season. It's an incredible group. I mean, when you think about every team, no team has very many losses, and I think everybody's a conference champion. It's really, again, whoever gets through this semifinal and final will have done it against the best of the best. And so I think for all of us, we all understand it. It's hard to do. And so you get this far, and it doesn't matter. I tell my kids all the time, they're always, when they leave to go to bed at night out of the film room or team room, they're like, Coach, you can go to bed. I'm like, look, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Right now, this is the most important thing in my life. And, for them, I want them to have every opportunity to be successful. So it is a gauntlet for sure. And so we'll kind of see how it all shakes out this weekend.
Coach, we're going to shift to our left.
Leo Haggerty, Amped Up Sports here in Tampa. Coach, the last time Texas was in the Final Four, Coach Conrad, 2003. A lot of your players weren't even born then.
Yeah.
But you've been there twice. How important is it for you to have that experience to be able to relay that to your players?
Yeah. Actually been there 3 times. I was an assistant at A&M when we won a national championship. And so I just, I told them the other night after we won in Birmingham, we got on the airplane, and before we took off, because I knew they were going to go to sleep and we weren't going to land till 2:15, I said, we're going to land, you're going to go home, wash clothes, and we're getting right back on the airplane. I said, from that moment on, you will not have a minute to yourself. I said, I realize you want to see your families. They're going to be with you, but I'm going to need y'all to really try to, if you get an hour, if you get 2 hours, you need to have that time to yourself. You need to take a nap. You need to refresh mentally as well as physically. And, you can visit with family when you're done with the spring semester. Not wanting to take away from any of that, because I know all of my kids, their families are here, and certainly I want them to enjoy that. But you just get pulled from so many areas, so many different directions. And I just want them to, we had a tough regional. I mean, we had to play another team from the SEC in Tennessee who's playing very well and is a really good team. Had a knockdown drag out with them. Then we had to go up against TCU, who's a conference champion. As Rory said, offensively, their efficiency's off the chart. Got a 7th-year player on their team, a 5th-year player on their team. That's their 2 best players. So we knew we had a challenge there. And obviously, if you watch that game Monday night, you saw how hard my kids played. So, yeah, it's something that was on my mind from as soon as it was over. And I had to tell my staff, too, we have to really try to lock in and really close the doors and lock out the distractions, if you will. And it's hard to do. And again, for my kids, I want them to enjoy this. I mean, you guys don't know this. Every time they walk in a room somewhere, there's something they're waiting for. It's a box. It's a pair of shoes. It's warm-ups. It's a bag. I mean, they can't wait to leave here and go back to the hotel because they think there's going to be something there for them. I mean, we got them back last night from dinner. We walk into a room, boom, there's something. I mean, these kids this is special. Like, they need to enjoy this. Like, it's hard to get here, and yet it is a business trip. They're good enough. I want them to know that, but man, you don't want to steal that from them. You don't want to take that from them. You don't want to minimize the joy of stopping by and seeing our friends at Nike last night, spending time with them, getting to personally meet Asia Wilson. I mean, how special is that for those kids? And she takes time to visit with them. I mean, like I said, every room they walk in, I mean, it's Christmas. And for me, there's so much joy seeing their face, seeing them happy, because I know how hard they work. Like my kids, they work hard. Like they embrace toughness. They know we talk about it all the time, and I'm always talking about it. And it's one thing to talk it. It's another thing to walk it. And they don't like to be told they've been punked. They take great pride in not getting punked. And when I tell them they've gotten punked, they do not like it. So they work hard. And so you want them to enjoy it.
Coach, we're going to take our next question from the center. If you could raise your hand.
Lindsay Gibbs with Power Plays. Coach, like you said, you've been here before, but what does it mean to get here with this program with such a storied women's basketball history, your hometown? And I know you shared a moment with Jody Conrad after the Elite Eight win. Would love to know a little bit about that moment and what that meant to you.
Yeah, it's special. I mean, 5 years ago when they hired me, it was really important to me that Chris Plonsky, Kathy Harston, and Jody Conrad were in on that. I wanted their blessing because I know what they've meant to Texas women's basketball, but I also know what they've meant to the game. Those are lifers. Those are people that have invested their entire life and careers into women's basketball. Like there's some young folks up here, they don't understand. I do. Like I get it. I've seen it firsthand. This is my life. And I've seen it up close and in person to know the domination that Coach Conrad had in the Southwest Conference days. I'm embarrassed. I can't recall the number, but it's 100 and some odd crazy number, 80 something games of consecutive conference victories. So I know the history and the tradition at Texas. And, like I said, that banner hangs in there. That 34-0 national championship banner hangs in my practice facility. The 2003, the last time they've been in an NCAA tournament, it hangs in my practice facility. So it's a tremendous responsibility for me to be entrusted with the keys to the program. But it's also why I wanted the job, because my vision is their vision. And my vision was to come into the office. And remember, I took it during COVID. So it was jacked up, bad. But my vision was to come in after a game the next morning and have coffee and have Coach Conrad come down from her office and talk about the game with me. Like, I embrace those moments. And so Coach is around a lot, and I love that. I love having her around. Like, it means a lot to me that she takes enough time out of her day, or, where she is right now. I mean, she's a hell of a golfer, and, that she would take that time to come by practice, hang out, be around. Like, I love that. Like, that's my vision when I took the job. I wanted to be around her. I wanted her to be around our program. And so, she was there when we beat Baylor back in my second year. We beat them to win the Big 12 championship tournament game. Again, one of the reasons they probably hired me was to catch up to them and beat them and win a championship. And we did that pretty quick. And then to now be where we are now in the NCAA Final Four, I'm really, I'm honored to be their coach, but I'm really proud of what we've been able to accomplish in a short period of time. It's been 22 years since they've been in the Final Four. It had been 22 years since they won a conference championship, and we've won 4 in 5 years. So I have a great deal of respect and admiration for those three, because to me, they are Texas women's basketball, and I love being around them. They're just wonderful, wonderful people.
We'll shift to our right, Ben.
Hey, Ben Pickman with The Athletic. Is there anything you're doing differently, and maybe the answer is no, in terms of routine or just with your players in terms of film study, practice from your times at Mississippi State right now during this week? Are you guys preparing any differently for a national semi and potentially the weekend?
Probably. Lots happened since 17. I know I did things different between the semifinal win and the championship game, 17 to 18. And so I would say, again, I don't claim to know it all. I don't ever think I'm done learning. I think when you're done learning, you need to hang it up. And I always, try to keep an open mind and continue to grow as a coach and learn. I think I'm more in tune with my student athletes, how they're feeling physically. If you're at a practice, if you were at mine today, I asked probably 4 or 5 of my kids, hey, how you feeling today? How your legs? I'm just a little more in tune. I think back in 17, I was more of a suck it up. We're all right. Let's go. This is what we do, that kind of thing. I think I've changed a little bit. My former players would say I'm a way softer. That's not the case, but in their eyes, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, it was this way. And now I've always had former players on my staff. And so now it's like, oh, you're way softer. Well, I don't think I am, but I do think I'm more in tune with my student athletes, and I try to listen to them and how they're doing.
going to shift to our left-hand side.
Craig Way, Longhorn Radio Network. Vic, you mentioned what Coach Auriemma has done in building it from the ground up. You saw it firsthand when you were on Coach Blair's staff, building it at A&M from the ground up. What do you think in this day and age, transfer portal, NIL, everything else that's wrapped into it, is more difficult to do, to build a program from scratch or to do what you're having to do, inherit a program that won 183 Southwest Conference games and has all the tradition and all that success? Which is the more challenge?
Well, I would say, Craig, again, the 183 was back, we'll just say in the day. It was in the 80s, right? I'm not sure I just inherited a roster full of, players. I mean, we played 6.5 kids that first year, and I think we were 7-7 in the league, or 8-8, and we win our first round. We were a 6 seed. We win our first round game. Then we got to play a top 10 UCLA team in the second round. We beat them. Then we have to play Maryland in the Sweet 16. They were averaging about 100 points a game, and Antonelli was telling the world Vic's not going to sleep for a week because they're going to hang 100 on him. And they scored their 60th and 61st point with 0.2 of a second on the clock, and we beat them 64-61 to go to the Elite Eight. But we weren't left with it. Shay's the only one left of that recruiting class that we inherited. She's the only one that made it past the first year. And so I don't think we were just left with a whole cupboard full of, team. So I feel like we've kind of built it from the ground up at Texas too. And so I think it is difficult. It's hard. We certainly did that at Mississippi State in inheriting a 14 and 16 team with 6 seniors on their way out the door. So, but I think what that allows you to do is it allows you to establish a fundamental group that if you get kids that fit, we always talk about recruiting to a fit. And then you can retain them and you can develop them. That's always been the secret to my success, I think, as a head coach. Recruit to a fit, retain them, and develop them. Well, the retaining piece is getting harder and harder, and there's no question about it. But if we can get them to do that, and we can get them to stay, and they'll let us coach them, I think the proof's in the pudding. And so it's something that we've taken great pride in. And again, I think you have to give my staff a ton of credit. I have the best staff. I've had some great staffs. I've been really blessed with some incredible staffs throughout my head coaching tenure. This one is incredible. If I had to rank them 1, 2, 3, 4, this one would be 1. They are really, really special. And Elaine has been with me a long time, and we've seen a lot together. And of course, Lindsay and Blair and Sydney. Blair and Sydney both played for me on Final Four teams. Sydney won one with me, and so it's really hard to do though. But I think if you get the opportunity to build it with your bare hands and from the ground up, I think you can establish what you want done and how you want it done, so that every class after that, when they come in, those kids show them how it's done. And remember, that team that beat Connecticut in 17, there was not one top 100 player in that senior class. Not one. We couldn't get them. Nobody was going to come that was in the top 100 at that time. So, but that senior class established what we wanted done.
Unfortunately, we are at time.
You have to let one of these. They've been raising their hand every time. Please.
I'll let you do it. It's your world. I'm living in it. Jalen, please go ahead.
Yeah. You got it now?
Can you grab the mic? Sorry.
I know you will.
Jalen Johnson, Rising Media Stars.
Okay.
You mentioned after that Elite Eight game that your family has taken somewhat of a hit in the times that you've been coaching, but you have had Blair along the way with you as a player, obviously as your daughter first off, but then as a player and coming to your staff. How have you seen her grow in those roles with you? And also, how has that relationship been as with her being on the staff with you?
Well, let's go back to when she was a player. She earned her way. Tough, took 90 charges in her career. That means she probably got trucked about 200 times. But she earned her way, made herself into an all defensive player team in the Southeastern Conference. I mean, that's really quite remarkable. But her hard work, commitment, dedication, and again, playing for me, fair or unfair, I probably coached her harder than anybody. But I think she had the respect of the locker room and never whimpered, never said why, never complained, not 1 minute in her career. She'd come home she has a twin brother, and he's our miracle. We almost lost him when he was 14, but he's a miracle. He's great now. He'd walk in the door, you never know anything happened to him. But we'd have dinner on Monday nights, or off nights during the conference, and we grew up, everybody at the dinner table. We wouldn't spread out and people be watching TV and all. We were going to sit and talk about the day. And we'd talk about the old coach. I go, well, how was practice today? She'd say, well, he was a little grumpy today. He didn't think we played very good on Sunday, or, he was okay. He was pretty happy today. We had a big win, but we talked in those terms. It was always third sense, third term, and that's how we got through it. And we had a lot of fun doing it that way. I wanted her, when she graduated, I tried to get her to come on my staff then. I had a bunch of young guards coming in. I needed her because she had been through the hard times and she could help them navigate that. But she was hell-bent on going into y'all's job. She wanted to be in TV, wanted to be in broadcasting, and so Greg Sankey hired her at the SEC Network, and she did basketball games. And you can't make them do it. So I didn't. I turned her loose and let her do that. And she actually worked for the CBS affiliate there in Columbus, Mississippi, right down the road. So finally, about February, she called one day and she was crying. I thought, good Lord, now what's happened? And she said, I think I figured it out. I said, what do you mean? She said, I think I want to go into coaching. And I thought, okay, well, what happened? She said, I prep for all these games. I watch film, so I know who I'm talking about. I go to shoot-arounds. Nobody has a shoot-around like we do. I do the games, and I can't help these kids. She said, I really feel like if I'm going to watch all this film, I need to be able to help them. And so I said, okay, look, it's February. You get through the season, get through your NCAA games, and we'll talk in April. So she did. She got back to me in April. She said, yeah, I think I really want to do it. So she's worked her way up from assistant player development. We came to Texas. She was going to be a player development coach, but at the last second, my DOB didn't come. She got thrown into that role just to help me until I could find somebody. Well, she did it so doggone good. I just said, look, you're just going to do it. And so she stayed in that role, and then I moved her into a full-time coaching role. And, she's been off the charts, just got named a WBCA 30 under 30 assistant coach, and which I'm very proud of, both as a head coach, having somebody on my staff get that, as well as not the coach and the father. And so, it's just, I feel like with all these kids, they're, I've been entrusted with them, and I try to coach them and teach them, hold them accountable, just like I have my own too. And Blair has really, she's in some ways exceeded expectations this fast. I've had phone calls from a couple of different universities wanting to know if there'd be any interest in her being a head coach. And she's going to be a great head coach one day. But I think right now she's locked into doing what we're doing together. And, I like that too. And so it's Rory and Book and myself. We've helped put a bus together and got these kids some tickets. So our students are coming from Austin. I think it's a 17-hour bus ride, but we've got some Booker and Rory have really ramrodded this deal, bought the tickets, got them some hotel rooms. And so we're excited that we're going to be able to have some University of Texas students be able to come to the Final Four and enjoy cheering on their team. So, again, appreciate everybody being here today. Thank you so much for your coverage. Thank you all, and praise the Lord and hook 'em horns.
Just a reminder for everybody, a recording of this press conference will be posted in the NCAA's digital media hub.
I know you did. Thank you. Well, good to see you. How you doing? Yeah.
Absolutely. Tell me your name.